Hi everyone, welcome to our Sunday School message. Wonder if any of you boys and girls have read any of the Horrid Henry books. He's some boy. He gets into all sorts of trouble. He's really quite cheeky. But you're probably thinking, surely not a bit old to be reading Horrid Henry books. You're quite right. I record them and I send them to the children in our family. But between you and I really quite enjoy them myself. Now, Henry's got a wee brother called Perfect Peter. Total opposite to Henry. Never does anything wrong. So, of course, Henry loves to try and get him into bother. He calls him names. Not very nice, really. So that got me thinking, are there any stories in the Bible about brothers? Can you think of any? Well, I went back to the old part of the Bible, the Old Testament, and we read there about a boy called Joseph. Now, Joseph didn't have one brother. He had 11. Can you imagine meal times in that house? Now, just the way Henry doesn't really like Peter, Joseph's brothers didn't like him. Wonder why? Well, Joseph's dad, Jacob, he treated Joseph differently to the other boys, made him a bit of a favourite. It's not very nice. It's nice to treat everybody the same, isn't it? So, of course, that's why the brothers didn't like him. And then something else that really annoyed them, he was always having dreams. And he loved to tell his brothers about his dreams. And one day he said to them, "You'll never guess what I dreamt last night. One day you're all going to bow down to me." I don't think so, they thought. Who does he think he is? Then the final straw came one day when Jacob gave Joseph a very special present. A beautiful coat with lots of colours on it. He didn't give the other boys the same, and I think you can see by their faces that they weren't very pleased. Now, the older boys, they looked after their dad's sheep out in the fields and up in the hills. And one day, Jacob said to Joseph, "I want you to go and find your brothers. Just see that they're okay and check up that they're getting on with their work." So off Joseph set. Now, while he was a bit away from his brothers, they saw him coming and they thought, "Oh no, here he comes, the dreamer." And he had on his special coats and that made them even angrier. They started to talk amongst themselves. What are we going to do about him? We're fed up with him. Is there no way we could get rid of him and get peace? Do you know, some of them even wanted to kill Joseph. But the oldest boy, called Reuben, he said, no, we can't do that. We'll just give him a bit of a fright. So they looked about and further over they saw a big sort of hole in the ground, a bit like a pit. Great idea, we'll chuck him down there. That'll give him a fright. Meanwhile, Joseph's coming towards his brothers, waving. No idea what they were discussing. And as he got nearer to them, some of his brothers grabbed him. They took off his lovely coat and just flung it down in the ground. And they lowered Joseph down into this big pit. There's no way he could have got out on his own. So then they thought, do we just leave him there? We'll just go and leave him in that pit. And then they looked, and in the distance, they could see some men coming on camels. So they thought, I wonder where they're going. So as the men came nearer, the brothers said, "Where are you off to?" They said, "We're going down to Egypt. We've got things to sell. So that's where we're going." One of the boys had an idea. "Why don't we sell Joseph? Send him with these people down to Egypt like a slave, and that would be us. We'd get rid of him." Great idea. So they went over to the big hole in the ground and they brought Joseph back up. They didn't give him his special coat back. They just sold him to these men for some money. They thought, great, problem solved. We don't need to see him ever again. Of course, then they thought, what are we going to tell our dad? Can you imagine how Jacob would feel when he knew that Joseph was missing? So they picked up Joseph's coat, they made it all muddy and they tore it and they made their way back home. And of course, as they all get into the house, Jacob immediately noticed that Joseph wasn't there. So some of the brothers went to their dad and they produced Joseph's coat, all torn and dirty. They said to him, we didn't see Joseph, but we found his coat. We think he's maybe been attacked by an animal, but we didn't see him. That was a lie, wasn't it? That wasn't very nice. So of course Jacob was really, really upset at the thought of losing his son. Now, you know, the story of Joseph is quite a long one in the Bible, boys and girls. And Joseph was quite young when this happened. But you know, once they get down to Egypt, lots of different things happened to him. But during that time, even the time when he was in the pit, God was with him. God was looking after him. And God had something special for him to do. And you know, when he became older, he was made to be a very important person down in Egypt. He was made to rule over all the people. He was in charge. And you know, he did see his brothers again. They come down to Egypt. But you know, they didn't recognise Joseph. They didn't realise it was him. But Joseph knew it was them. But even more special, you could imagine that Joseph would be really angry, wouldn't you? At the things that his brothers had done to him. But you know, he forgave his brothers. He forgave them for all the terrible things they'd done to him. That was very good of Joseph, wasn't it? I wonder if there's any wee lessons we can learn from the story. Remember, we thought it's nice to treat everybody the same, isn't it? And then when we think on Joseph's brothers, they told quite a lot of lies, didn't they? It's not good to tell lies. Better to tell the truth, isn't it? And then most importantly, Joseph forgave his brothers. And you know, when we do things that are not so good, if we say we're sorry to God, then he forgives us too. So it's nice to get wee lessons from the story of Joseph. So you try and remember these. Let's have a wee prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the story of Joseph and how he forgave his brothers for all the terrible things they had done. But we know that you forgive us when we do things that are not so nice. And we thank you for that. Bless us now, watch over our families and friends, and keep us all safe. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Bye for now.